There was an article recently, one of the Real Housewives of New Jersey was hospitalized for a bowel obstruction connected to taking one of these medications. And she says in the article, it's because I wasn't eating vegetables. I wasn't drinking enough water. I wasn't doing all the things because for the first time in my life, I could eat ice cream and burgers and lose weight.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your health coach and host, Jenn Trepeck, here with you every week. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite traditions that we have created with the podcast. It is our top 10 of the year. Joining me today is my mom. Mom, welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Good to be here. I am a faithful listener, so I'm happy to be part of this episode especially.
Yeah, and this is one that you haven't joined us for before.
I don't think so, right?
All right, so here's the scoop. This is our top 10, like our personal top 10. There is no data. There is no...
We didn't ask anybody else.
Right. These are strictly our personal preferences of episodes from 2023 that we think are worth your time to make sure you've heard, go back and listen to if you haven't yet. Links for each one are in the show notes, the episode notes, so that it's easy for you to go back and find them, and then I'll give you all the details. So, Mom, you picked 5, I picked 5, and we're going to share them with you. Really quick, though, before we get to the first one, we have to tell our members what they're getting this week. Mom, you're a member, right? So here's what you're getting this week. So I'm sending you 2 recipes, and in all irony, you're getting salad and fries.
Which is favorite in our family.
It is. So the recipe is for crunch salad. It is a great winter salad. Every ingredient is chosen for its texture, and the dressing is so yummy. So you get that recipe too. And then the fries are for healthier baked eggplant fries. I thought this was fun for a New Year's meal, any day of the week, really. I mean, you could even add your favorite protein to it or keep it fully plant-based. It's easy to adjust. And then, since it's December, the last month of the quarter, it's time for your quarterly live one-on-one session. So you get 30 minutes, just you and me, whatever you want to talk about. I have loved the conversations that we've had so far this month, and I just can't wait to connect with the rest of you. There are still times available. I made some times available in January because of holiday schedules. So if you haven't yet, there's still time to book your 30 minutes. So if you want this recipe or the one-on-one time, just you and me, be sure you're a member. Go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions. It's a total deal. I say it all the time. It is a steal because when you take advantage of the full offerings, you save far more than that $10 cost. This month alone, you will make back the entire cost of the year.
Way to go.
So, right? A no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, your membership supports this podcast and this community so that we can continue to bring you new episodes and experts every single week. Okay, remember, you are going to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries, or just click the link in the show notes because that's way easier. Once you're there, you're going to click support now, enter your email and payment info, click subscribe, and you're all set. It's like maybe 45 seconds or so. And then you'll get this week's recipe for the crunch salad and the healthier baked eggplant fries, plus access to your quarterly live session, just you and me. All right, our first episode on the list. Oh, this one's one of mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one aired July 5th. It was episode 205 and called What is Health? The thing that I liked about this one was we talked about who defines health. Because in our modern world, oftentimes it's the health insurance companies who are actually defining health. And is that really what we're looking for? And then to look at our own definition of health and how we're creating that. So a big thing of this episode was to encourage everybody to not just define it for themselves, but to think about what that looks like. Is health for you just the absence of disease like it is for, industry, right? For health insurance and the FDA and things like that. But then what do you actually want to do in life? And how do we create that vitality and energy and make life worth all the other things? Mom, any thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, what you say about the absence of illness is kind of scary when you think about it, because you think you're feeling okay, you think nothing's wrong, and then, just like that, something can happen. And you say, where did that come from? How's that possible? And I think it also happens because, and you've talked about this before, because of the separation of all the specialties, health can really fall between the cracks because each advisor or physician is only looking, for most of us, is only looking at their column of the equation, So it's scary.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to watch out for. You don't want to become a hypochondriac so that everything that you feel, every little thing that you feel becomes bad.
Totally. The other interesting thing, and this was one of the quotes that was pulled out for this episode, was that health has become a luxury in our lives and it requires wealth of some degree. And I think that's really sad, because it requires a personal commitment that may or may not be, financially available to people. And there are options, right, at any spectrum, but it has become a luxury. And, part of this episode was thinking about ourselves as our own health advocates and making sure that, we're thinking about optimal health. Like I describe myself as an optimal health coach because that is more, I'm not anti-Western medicine also. Like I talked about that in this episode. Like Western medicine plays a big part of things, but I don't think that we can rely on Western medicine for optimal health.
That's a scary thought.
Right. I mean, it's just not what they're taught or trained to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that goes back to your point of, the silos in Western medicine, and Western medicine functions on the treatment of symptoms versus what's the underlying cause of the issue. So that's how a lot of people end up in that snowball of prescriptions. Because it's like this one's for the first symptom and then this is for the side effects and then this one's,
Or I don't treat that symptom. So you got to go to emergency, right? You got to do something different. Right. I don't treat that or deal with that.
Right. Western medicine is amazing for the emergent situation, right? Like break a bone, have, need a certain, like Western medicine all the way. Western medicine is not equipped for chronic disease. And unfortunately, the vast majority of disease that we have in this country is chronic. Acute becomes a function of the chronic left unaddressed.
Absolutely.
Other than, a broken bone or things like that. So highly recommend What is Health, episode 205 from July 5th of 2023. All right, next one on our list. This was one of yours,
This is mine. Yeah, this is from June 28th. And it was about diet pills, a real shortcut.
Diet pills and the real shortcut.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think there's shortcuts. So, when we talk about Ozempic and all these other shots that people are taking and pills, they look great, people who've been
at first.
Yeah, they do. I mean, there are people that look amazing so quickly. It's almost frightening. But then what? From what I understand, and I haven't really read about it or studied it at all like you have, but to do this for the rest of your life is what I understand, that when you're doing those shots, you can't get off them. It seems like it's so artificial, that what it's doing to your body is so artificial and isn't the real solution to change our thinking and change our habits and be in control ourselves, rather than those shots that maybe you eat something and it makes you think you're full, but did you eat the right thing?
Exactly.
And what's going in your system, and what can that do to you if you're not eating the right stuff. So I think it's scary.
It is. I have so many thoughts. So this actually has become one of our top 10 most downloaded episodes.
Well,
I know. And it's interesting coming off of the last one that we were talking about where we said, who's defining health, right? It's the FDA and the insurance companies that have created the prime situation for the Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro demand, in addition to, society and culture, right? But more and more, as people are on it for longer, we see headlines every single day of health complications. There was an article recently, one of the Real Housewives of New Jersey was hospitalized for a bowel obstruction connected to taking one of these medications. And she says in the article, it's because I wasn't eating vegetables. I wasn't drinking enough water. I wasn't doing all the things because for the first time in my life, I could eat ice cream and burgers and lose weight. And it's like, my jaw was on the floor as I'm reading this. And I was like, I cannot believe, and I suppose on the one hand, it's better that people are being honest about, number one, taking it, number two, what they're doing that's creating these situations. But I think the whole point of this episode was that these are not necessarily the shortcut that we really want them to be. And to your point, the real shortcut is just consistency of the little things every day that get us there. And by the way, there are supplementation options that can support some of the same pathways that this pharmaceutical is using. And those ingredients and botanicals have far fewer, if any, known side effects and allow us to sort of bridge that gap and make it easier to get over the hump to the behavior change and some of the other things that are a bit more difficult.
And the people that want to lose weight, that are on this just to lose weight, that don't have any ailment, they tend to go to somebody they know, right? And you go to a doctor that you know or that you're really, you're friends with, and, oh, I really want to lose weight, okay, here's a prescription for it. I don't think the discovery piece of handing out a prescription exists in that environment.
Yes. I've had people come to me wanting to work with me on the medications. And there's a lot, nutrition has to become really important when you're on these meds. And it is also very difficult to learn how to handle cravings when you don't experience them. It's really difficult to shift the behaviors of certain situations because the old behaviors, right, aren't even possible. Meaning, sometimes if you eat certain things, you will vomit, And so actually there was an article recently also that was like how to behave at dinner parties if you're on Ozempic.
Oh my.
I know. It's taken on a life of its own. And this sort of ties back into the episode that we were talking about before about, who's determining what's health or healthy and what our best path is for getting there. And then it also reminds me of an episode that we did this year in March about ChatGPT or AI. And so should artificial intelligence be your health coach? And, I asked ChatGPT a bunch of questions for us, right? And it's really interesting, the answers weren't all that helpful, And so I think it just goes to the awareness factor, especially this time of year. Like if you're tempted, if you're not sure about some of these things, listen in. And by the way, I first talked about Ozempic and a nutrition nugget in October of 2022. And people at that time were like, what are you even talking about? And now look at where we are a little over a year later. So
yeah, it happened so quickly.
Yeah, it seems quickly. So along those same lines of these pharmaceuticals and sort of everybody jumping into that bandwagon, my next one, so this is number 3 of our list, was birth control. So this was a 2-part. So part 1 in particular aligns with this conversation that we're having about, pharmaceuticals. So this was episode 211 from August 16th. It was birth control part 1. And it was really about understanding what happened around the FDA approval of birth control. And what was the study? Because there was only one study behind it. And now what we're seeing, 50 years later in terms of women's health. This one was absolutely eye-opening for a lot of people I know. I remember having a conversation with a friend's husband when I was sort of in the rabbit hole of, doing all the research for this episode and prepping for the interview. And a friend's husband said to me, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to put our doctors on birth control, as soon as they get their period. And so it's another thing of wait, stop. We have to take this back. We have to be our own health advocate and do our own knowledge search, right? Our own education. Go ahead.
It's become the answer or a prescribed answer for things that just to make it easy. That's what it seems like to me.
Right. We're told that it, regulates your hormones. It doesn't. It shuts them off. We're told all these things about how it works that aren't actually what happens in the body. And if you're thinking, oh, it's okay, I'm not on the pill, right? I use an IUD or the patch or the shot or whatever, you still want to listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
Highly, highly recommend. This was a quote that I had pulled out. So Mike Gaskins was our guest for this episode. He wrote a book called In the Name of the Pill. So definitely go get the book. He said, at that time, which was 1970, when the pill first came out, 1 out of every 20 women was diagnosed with breast cancer. Today, 1 out of every 8 women is diagnosed with breast cancer. We've seen this dramatic increase they predicted, and the numbers are far worse than their greatest fears.
Wow.
And the longer people are on the pill, the more those side effects increase. And so I think the key takeaway, and he said this, was trust your questions more than the answers. If you've asked your doctor, trust your questions more than the answers. And by the way, another tip he gave in this episode was if you're looking for some of this research, you need to go to Google Scholar and you need to be careful about what words you choose. If you type birth control, you're never going to find it, right? If you type hormonal contraception, you will.
Oh, wow.
So, but it goes to all this stuff of how the systems in place are keeping us in this pharmaceutical world.
As the answer.
Right. Also, with this episode for birth control, we did a part 2 that was all about how to transition off of birth control so that you can minimize the post-birth control syndrome. So if you listen to the one and you're like, what do I do next? Listen to part 2 from the following week. That was August 23rd. Okay. So the next one, I wanted to do one that was more on the mental health side of things. And this episode has really stuck with me, and I hear it from listeners also. This was episode 202 from June 14th. Number 4 of our top 10 is Perfectionism Hiding Your Pain, featuring Dr. Margaret Rutherford. This one and her book, it's really about perfectionism as the manifestation of depression and sort of the connection between the behaviors of a perfectionist and the meaning that we're giving those behaviors and all that kind of stuff. And in reading her book, I didn't even realize for myself that that's what was going on at the time. So I think this one is incredibly eye-opening, and it's really all about breaking the silence, right? Having these conversations, talking about these things so that we can move toward healing. And so Dr. Margaret in the episode gives us 5 stages of healing and some things that we can do, to help move forward and develop that self-compassion. And I think the perfectionism piece, I see it all the time in my old dieting behaviors and then also with my clients, right? We have this idea, especially in this space of if we want the results, we have to be so perfect. And the truth is that we don't.
So you especially in your sessions with clients, because I've been in a lot of those with different people from time to time over the last 12 years of this with you, they think that something is either really good or really bad. And so when you go through with them, and they tell you something bad from the week and you're able to turn it around and help them see the good in it. It's that same thing, I was bad. I was really bad. If you look at that, you could spend your every day thinking that you were really bad because you did something that you didn't think was, in quotes, right.
Right.
And that's a horrible way to live.
It's hard.
It's real hard. Yeah.
I think the thing to point out here too is that not all perfectionism is destructive. Maladaptive perfectionism is what she's talking about in this episode. And it's important for us to just consider that and think through it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So that was Dr. Margaret Rutherford from episode 202, June 14th of 2023. Is perfectionism hiding your pain? All right. The next few on our list kind of all go together. So let's take a quick break now to highlight our partner for the episode, and then we'll do all of those. So I just looked at my notes. I am commandeering this real estate again. Let's talk about your 2024 resolution revolution. This is the perfect plan to help you keep your resolutions past January. Now, the second Friday of January is known as Quitter's Day. So we're going to go past that, right? Resolution revolution
is my... people 2 weeks this year,
right?
Because New Year's is on a Monday.
Right. And the Resolution Revolution 6-month group coaching program starts January 23rd. So you have a couple weeks, get into your year, and then we're going to make sure that it sticks. We're meeting twice a month so that it is manageable. It can fit into your life. It's not a giant heavy lift. You'll start with a one-on-one intake. I'm going to give you a menu plan, and then you'll be ready to rock and roll with the group on January 23rd. When you click the link to learn more, you're going to see that there are 2 package options. There's the weight management package, which is for everyone looking to shift their body composition, remove fat, enjoy their clothes fitting better. And then the optimal health package is for everyone who wants to have more energy, not rely on coffee, and support their optimal health with some foundational supplements. This is for the people who say, I don't necessarily know what I need, but I know I probably shouldn't listen to everything I hear on social media or just go into the health food store and buy up a bunch of things. Or the people who have a cupboard full of things and they go, I don't even know why I'm taking all of these things. You all want the optimal health package. And I promise you, by the way, even if you choose the weight management package, you're going to have more energy and feel better too. Both packages were designed by me based on over 16 years of experience of working with clients on nutrition, supplementation, and wellness. These are the regimens that I know work, and I'm making it super simple and turnkey for you. And I have to say, this is the most economical coaching package that I've ever offered. Not only that, I'm sweetening the deal. So if you commit in December, so I have a couple days left. If you commit in December, I'm giving you a free one-on-one each month of the program. So by saying now, I am starting January 23rd, you get 6 one-on-ones. I mean,
in addition.
Yes, exactly. In addition to the group coaching. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to text 2024 2024 to 844-947-4846. You'll receive the link right to your cell phone. You can then click and get all the details to the 2024 Resolution Revolution group program. Again, simply text 2024 to 844-947-4846. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply.
Great program, Jen. Great.
Thanks. Not to put you on the spot, but anything you would say to somebody about working with me as a coach?
Well, there's nothing like, and I sometimes I say to you, am I taking some things that I should stop taking? And you always say to me, well, have you gotten sick? I really haven't gotten sick in, I can't even remember, like 10 years. So whatever I'm doing, I keep doing because I know it's helping me.
Optimal health.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, the next one, number 5 of our top 10, is your pick.
Oh, it is. The grocery store run. And this was on May 10th. My God, it's hard to believe it was last May already, and this is December. Boy, that grocery store is a real conundrum, isn't it? And, from time to time, you go with a list. Well, I think most of us go with some kind of list. And other things pique our interest when we're there, but are they the right thing? And then there's, you talked about comparing two things that seem to be the same, and they're really not. And the thing is that we really have to take the time to do that, because going to the grocery store is one of my least favorite things to do. And so I want to get my list done and get out the door. And so making it an optimal opportunity for myself, I have to slow it down, and I have to really take a look at things and understand what I'm looking at when I look at ingredients or different things when I'm comparing products. And that's going to help me get what I really need and make a good decision. So I thought it was really helpful, and because it happens all the time. And then you talked about going to a different grocery store. That's another issue, right? So you think it's a really good idea. And I'll be honest, most of my shopping is on the outer rim of the store. Absolutely. Right. On the outer rim of the store. But when you go to a new grocery store, now you still have a list. You got to find those things in that new grocery store. So it is a great exercise for oneself. Not always easy, but it's a good exercise for us to do, just to open our eyes a little bit. I especially find it helpful, like in the fruit and vegetable section, like in the fresh fruit and vegetable section, because they're all organized differently. And so when you go to your own grocery store, zip, zip, zip through that department. But I think you can discover some pretty interesting things when you go to a different grocery store.
For sure. So this was episode 197 for people who like those numbers. This one just makes me laugh because I tried to just go rogue and fly under the radar and record in Whole Foods. So the very beginning of the episode is us in Whole Foods. And then we quickly got shut down because I didn't go through the proper channels to get permission. And so, so we did this walkthrough and took 1 million pictures and then recorded the episode. So it's this episode just makes me laugh because it was so funny. But to your point, I think of this episode as a masterclass in reading labels and combining foods, or making sure that you have the pieces to then make meals. Because one of the other things I said in this episode is that not a single food is off limits unless you decide you want it to be. Everything is just about figuring out how. It's why I always say it's not what to eat, it's how to eat. Because we can have all the things.
I always feel that when I watch Julia Childs, or Julia Child, all the butter. Boy, that stuff tastes darn good. But like you say, it's about what you do with it. And not everybody can eat like that or should eat like that. So you just got to be really careful.
Yeah.
I'm not a real cook either. I know, Jennifer, you always talk about the fact that you don't cook, you make food.
Yes.
And I also just make food because I have great ideas in my head. And when I get in the kitchen, I don't have the energy to cook. But you just got to be careful with all this stuff and make sure that it's good for you and that you didn't buy. I mean, we all throw out stuff. We all make some mistakes.
God. Oh, I thought you were saying throw things out because they go bad. My big problem is that, no, not that I made something inedible, but that I do not know how to shop for one person for a period of time before everything goes bad. So I feel like every time I go to the grocery store, I get so excited and then I can't even eat it all before,
Somebody came over, and actually I went grocery shopping, and somebody came over for meeting that night and ended up eating dinner over. And I kind of preceded opening my refrigerator by saying, please don't judge my refrigerator. It doesn't look like there's anything in it, but there's stuff in there that can make a meal.
Right.
It's a different way to live.
Right. But yes, I agree with you. This episode was fun, and it kind of leads right into your next pick also. So number 6.
Yeah, absolutely. Building a balanced plate. That was on June 7th. That's always one of my favorites because Every one of us has the best of intentions when we go someplace. I'm an appetizer nut. I love appetizers. You can keep the dinner. Just give me the
Yep.
appetizers. I love eating like that. But you have to be careful. And you think, maybe, if you listen to that and you think about your main plate, your main course, and you have a section, you know exactly what you're going to put on your plate, and you're only going to go once, right? To that.
Like, is it a buffet? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it, an all you can eat buffet, or is this only going to make one plate? But then you got a plate of appetizers. And boy, oh boy, you can really go the wrong way on that. So, really thinking about it ahead of time is what it's all about. And picturing that plate with all those goodies that you want. So important. You may have deviations when you finally get to that food, but at least you thought about it ahead of time and you can make a better choice.
Yeah. I sort of thought about this episode as great for the people who have ever said, oh, I can't have that.
Yeah.
Or, if being healthy means giving up, any food, fill in the blank, right? I'm out. And that's not right. This whole episode is about kind of building off that thing. If you can have anything,
right?
If we learn how. So we talked about breakfast. We talked about food stacking. There were a lot of tips and tricks, and also portion sizes without needing measuring cups. Because, I'm not living my life with measuring cups in a bag.
Yeah. You have to learn what a portion size is of different things, because it's different sometimes. It's different for vegetables than it is for meat. You have to think about it. It's all about
But we
thinking
can
about
learn
it.
and use our hands, right? And it almost goes back to that perfectionism thing. Like, if you use a food scale at home and then you go eat out and you're anxious, that anxiety over the portion size is worse than whatever the portion size is, So the objective is to make it work and figure it out, not to let all of this stuff completely consume your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a big thing in this episode. Yeah, I like this one. This was, for those of you who want it, this was episode 201. Oh, and the next one kind of builds on this too.
Right, right. This is October 25th, healthier options at Starbucks. You can read those calories and think you're making a good choice. But like we've all said, and I don't like to bash them, I think that
they have some awesome options.
They do, and that you won't get anywhere else. But you have to be careful. Even in the egg bites, you have to be careful, because the carb load in the egg bites can be something different than you think it is. You think it's just eggs and, whatever.
Vegetables, right?
Yeah, vegetables or bacon or whatever it is that they put in there. But it's not always like that. And I think the biggest, even more than the food, are the drinks. I don't drink those specialty drinks just because they are so full of unknowns. They're yummy. There's no question about it. They're yummy.
Yeah.
But you really have to be careful. You want whipped cream? Sure, put the whipped cream on. You want the caramel sauce drizzle on top? Yeah, put the caramel on top. You can make some real poorer, not necessarily poor. It's not all or nothing, but some poorer decisions if you just let it be. And It's not good for us.
I think it's just the awareness, right? I think for me with this episode, it's about the awareness of recognizing the calories are not telling us the story that we really want to know to make choices for ourselves.
There's a lot of sugar in all that stuff. A lot of sugar, which is not good for us.
And some of those drinks, I know a lot of people who would go in and say, oh, well, I'm not going to have the cookie. I'm not going to have, whatever. Some of those drinks have more sugar than the food. And so again, it's just making the choices, knowing what's really there so that we can choose for ourselves. And to your point, right, we said they have tons of great options, and there are Starbucks everywhere these days, which means you never really have to worry that you're not going to find something when you're out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because odds are you can find a Starbucks,
for any meal.
Right.
It's going to satisfy for any meal. And they're an interesting concept. You just have to use it properly for yourself.
Right. I thought this one was fun. I also gave some hacks for how to, health-ish your Starbucks,
You did you pulled one when you were staying with me because
Yes.
you got
Yes.
guacamole with the sandwiches that we got. And I thought that was really just a great call.
Yeah. So listen to that one for some hacks. Healthier options at Starbucks, October 25th, episode 221.
Next is yours.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things in that Starbucks episode was consider what's occasional and what's on the regular. And that's also kind of what this next episode was about. This one's a fitness one. It was episode 199, Lit Over Hit, featuring Jamie Brenkis. This aired May 24th. And first of all, Jamie was the guy who created all the 8-minute workout videos back in I guess it was the 90s, maybe even the 80s, the 8-minute abs and all of those. But his whole thing is, what are you doing regularly? And perhaps if we do something lit is low intensity interval training versus high intensity interval training, we're actually better off. That we can maintain that consistency, that we can get to these daily habits that create health and vitality and, key to what everybody's talking about right now, longevity. We talk about it all the time, but it's a big piece in terms of the daily activity. And then the mindset shift that comes with that, I think, is really powerful. He wrote a book with Jack LaLanne's wife, and her name is Elaine LaLanne. Facts, I know. But Jack LaLanne is the one who said people don't die of old age, they die of inactivity. So something to consider there. So this gave us a workout one in the mix, and I think a really approachable fitness and activity conversation.
It's great.
All righty. Next one's yours.
About the mailbag, right? Is that
yes.
It's so interesting when I think about it.
Wait, hold on. So this was November 22nd, mailbag, help for the holidays, episode 225. Okay, go for it.
So there are a lot of podcasts that will say, oh, write me, put something in the show notes or write me. You never know whether people really look at it. You never get necessarily an answer. And so I love your mailbag because it really shows people, number one, that you're reading all the stuff that you get. But number two, when somebody writes something, they're not alone. They're not the only one thinking about it. And so I think that episode really points out, what every other people are thinking, and more people than that one person benefits by going through it.
Totally. I have chills as you're saying this, so it must mean something. First of all, I love nothing more than hearing from everybody, and not just the challenges, but the times when you've implemented something. And we did this for the 200th episode that aired May 31st of this year. It was very similar, right? It was, kind of different, but it was all about everybody sharing their stories and their successes. In this mailbag, it was, let's do some live coaching, right? Let's talk through these scenarios together. And to your point, what feels really personal and specific is often incredibly universal.
Yes.
And we ended up talking about, how do we balance nutrition with holiday, decadence? We talked about eating around others and when we feel comfortable doing that or when we don't, and why is that, and how do we handle those situations? You guys asked about, pacing yourselves around holiday food. And there were also some really great questions, even as far as it kind of feels like we're doomed, right? Like nothing out there is quality anymore. How do we live in this world? Also the questions were phenomenal. I love hearing from you guys. This was, for me, a fun way to talk about the holidays, because I do a holiday episode every year. And maybe we'll do the mailbag again next year for the holidays, because, again, it can feel like we're the only ones. Right. And we can talk about different things around the holidays, but I think it's different when it's your question.
Well, and kudos to you for bringing it to an episode. Like I say, not everybody,
Thank you.
Obviously not everybody does that. And it's reassuring to the people who are listening.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, everything we've talked about is about changing your life without disrupting it, without losing your life.
Letting it run your life.
Exactly. All right, we're at number 10 of our top 10.
It's all yours.
So this is episode 217 from September 27th. Top 5 tips for digesting nutrition news. This one tackled, I think, 90% of the questions that come to me.
Wow.
If everybody learned to build these 5 habits into their lives when they read headlines or read articles, I think we would all be way better off. You know, I talked about things about understanding, like, you know, who paid for this, right? What's the writer's motive in writing this? What's their bias? What's our own bias in reading something? You know, understanding the different kinds of studies and the different kinds of scientific approaches to understanding and the kind of evidence that we would want to look for. You know, I think I talked about like your spidey sense and your common sense. So if you don't know what I mean by that, go back to this one. And then I also use this analogy of like Wonder Woman bangles, right? You know, she has these things on her wrists and it's sort of like deflecting everything. This episode is a muscle for all of us to build, especially now. You know, in past years, towards the end of the year, I've talked about how this time of year and, you know, the beginning of the year are the heyday of the health and wellness industry.
Mm-hmm.
We need those Wonder Woman bangles. We need to know what our plan is so that we can move forward consistently and with intention and with confidence. And again, it goes back, I mean, to me, it like goes back to almost every episode we've talked about as far as reading labels in the grocery store. How do we build a plate? What do we actually need in the morning to fuel? You know, all the diet pills and the articles about what people are taking and for what and when and who tells you that you're healthy. All of everything we've talked about in these top 10. I think these 5 things from this episode play into it.
Agreed. Absolutely.
And I guess for the moment, I would just say, and of course, I said this in the episode, when there's something that's super sensationalized, right? When there's something that's pitting 2 extremes against each other, it creates drama. So are you responding to the drama or are we actually getting the information that we need? You know, when somebody says to you, you're only going to hear this here. Nobody else is telling you this. It's a bit of a red flag, you know? Because by the way, everything I tell you, spoiler alert, maybe this is the thing I shouldn't say, but like you can find everything I'm telling you elsewhere, you know?
But what I get from here is that you're the one doing all that research and doing all that reading instead of me. So I so appreciate that.
Yes. Well, thank you. And you're welcome. Yeah, I'm doing that. But I think living in this world, we're all sort of doing it, right? We have to
Just
do it.
in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I might talk about it sooner. I might talk about it in a different way, but you can find it all out there. All right. I just have 2 quick bonus because I had a couple nutrition nuggets this year that were favorites. One was from November 3rd. It was our nutrition nugget on music. And not just about what music does when we work out or for our mood, but actually what music does for our cognitive function. Really interesting, I thought. And then also the nutrition nugget from August 4th on laughter. Like we've always heard laughter is the best medicine, but why? Right? So I know we have a lot of nutrition nugget lovers out there. So if you're like, I don't want all these full episodes, those are 2 of my favorite nutrition nuggets.
They were great. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So then we'll preview this week's nutrition nugget. So on Friday, our final nutrition nugget of 2023 is called Cheers. Right? So cheers to the end of 2023. Cheers to the beginning of 2024. And if you're a frequent listener or a longtime listener, you know that I have a little bit more up my sleeve to this one, right? Nothing that simple is really that simple sometimes. So,
and we like it.
Good. So tune in on Friday. Be sure to click follow or the plus sign, whatever app you're listening in, and then your app will alert you on Friday morning when the nutrition nugget is available. As always, everybody, I'm your host and health coach, Jenn Trepeck, here with you every week. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I am at Jenn Trepeck, JennTrepeck. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. Remember, all of our winter merch is there when you need a sweatshirt or a long sleeve shirt this winter. asaladwithasideoffries.com. Mom, thank you again for being here. I love doing this with you.
Always love it. I love it. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Of course, everybody, if you are not already, join our membership by going to glow.fm/saladwithasideoffries. This shows your support for this podcast and this community and supports your health, most of all. You'll get this week's recipes for salad and fries. It's the crunch salad and the healthier baked eggplant fries, plus access to your quarterly live session, just you and me, for 30 minutes. So while we have our nutrition nugget on Friday, this is the final full episode of 2023. Thank you for another incredible, inspiring, and empowering year. Enjoy every minute of your end of year celebrations, and we'll see you in 2024.
Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.